Kelly Jenrette, how did you and your husband find out about your Emmy nominations?
I found out about the Emmy nomination. I was watching the streaming of the announcements online and then went to Emmys.com because I was like, well, let me just see who's in the category. And as I'm scrolling, I see Dame Diana Rigg, Cicely Tyson, Viola Davis, Kelly Jenrette, Sherry Jones. And I was like, Kelly Jenrette, that's my name. That's my name. Like, oh my God, what is happening? And then my husband called me and he was like, babe, you are an Emmy nominated actress. And I said, I know, oh my God, I'm screaming. And he's quietly screaming because he's at work. And then I asked him if he knew whether or not he was nominated in his category. He said he didn't know. And so I went to his category and I'm scrolling and I see his name and I start screaming and I'm like, babe, you're nominated too. Oh my God, we're both nominated. So that's how we found out.
That's great. And do you find that your experiences are differing, or it's helpful to have somebody who's going through the same process?
It is absolutely helpful to not only have someone, but for that someone to be my husband and my best friend. We are so on different ends of the spectrum. My husband has never met a stranger a day in his life, so outgoing, will talk to anyone. I am like, I'll be over in the corner. Just come get me when it's time to go home. So we kind of balance each other out in that way, and he's able to kind of pull me out and I'm able to pull him back. So I think it is extremely helpful and a true blessing to have him on this journey with me.
And have you found that things are changing a lot, being an Emmy nominee, or opportunities opening up?
Yeah, I think that opportunities are opening up. It's interesting reading some of the articles like, who is this Kelly Jenrette? Where did she come from? And I'm like, I've always been here, guys. So I think, it is great to now have other opportunities kind of unfolding in front of me. And I'm just like, I just want to be prepared and ready for those opportunities to make the most of them.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Why do you think the media, or what do you think the media overlooked about your performance that the actors so obviously responded to?
That's a great question. I think, I mean, I don't know if they necessarily overlooked anything. I think for them it was, a I don't want to call it a blip in the story, but it was just a part of June's story that we got to see a glimpse of. And I think for them it was just kind of like, oh, that's a great story, part of the story. But I think maybe for the viewers, the voters, it kind of touched them in a way that maybe they didn't expect. And even me, as I'm rooting for June and I'm like, go in the first season, come on, June, you can do it. And then to put a face to the heartache that she caused, it kind of shifted things a little bit. And I think that that's what touched viewers, like, oh, okay, now we have a different perspective that we are challenged with.
I'll say in your category, Guest Actress in a Drama Series, you're the first person in over a decade to get your first nomination for a one-off role. That's incredible.
Thank you. Yeah, it is. It's humbling. It's overwhelming. It's beautiful, but to be in a category with Cicely Tyson, whom I'm like, you're Cicely Tyson, and everyone else in the category, Viola Davis, Diana Rigg, Cherry Jones, Samira Wiley. It's a true honor to be in that category with these amazing women.
So how did you get this role on The Handmaid's Tale?
My agents submitted me for it, and Sherry Thomas over at Bialy and Thomas Casting called me in. The audition was powerful and um, amazing, and I was in tears, and it was an awesome audition. But my agents submitted me for it, and they called me in. Thank God they called me in.
And what was the audition like? Was it just exactly what your scene ended up being?
More or less. I mean, there were a few things that were taken out when I got to set, but the audition was, I feel like the audition was even more intense than what we got to see on set. Um, and Sherry is so great at being present and giving amazing notes and interacting with the actor to bring out the very best performance in them. So it was incredible.
One of the things
One
I
of the things I
wonder
wonder
if it was
if it
taken
was
out.
taken out.
You have two
You have two
scenes. In the
scenes.
first one, you've got a lot of dialogue. In the second one, you don't say anything at all. Was
Mhm.
there a time where that second scene you had a line?
No, there were no words in the second scene. It was always Annie kind of seeing June and Luke and their baby together and how that affected her. You know, she felt like that should have been her. So I think it was more powerful just to see that reaction from her seeing someone else in her life or what she thought her life was supposed to be.
And how do you find you put your own spin on this role versus what they might have envisioned?
I think just personal experiences and things that I have gone through that would kind of drive home not only the hurt but the disappointment and just the sheer vulnerability of having to confront your husband's lover after he told you that he's in love with someone else. Um, just having had my own experiences in heartbreak, I think kind of helped really bring Annie to life.
Now, tell me about working with your director, Kari Skogland, because she also picked up her first Emmy nomination this year. So, what do you think distinguishes her as a director?
I think it's very similar into what Sherry does in the audition. Um, Carrie is just very present, and but she gives the actor room to kind of play and discover and find new things, and then she'll come in and tweak a little bit here or offer a suggestion here or there. But I think the freedom that she gives and the way that she is so focused and zoned in on what's happening in that moment, that just kind of brings it to life and gives the actor a freedom and permission to try new things.
I feel like this process seems very fast. Like you were in the show, it aired, and then kind of a month or two later, now you're nominated for an Emmy. How long were you actually on set shooting The Handmaid's Tale?
So this was shot in October of last year, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, October. And I was in Toronto for 2 weeks shooting it. So it doesn't seem long, but then it kind
Yeah.
of is a long time, you know.
Okay, so I understand that Hulu did not submit you for Emmy consideration and that you ran your own Emmy campaign. Is that correct?
Yeah, so after talking with my team, my agents, my managers, they felt like it would be good to submit myself for this role.
Yeah, absolutely. Can
Yeah.
you tell me about running your own Emmy campaign?
You know, it kind of goes back to what I was saying about my husband and myself. My husband, for his campaign, he was really out there doing everything in his power to do and kind of encouraged me. So we would go as members of the Television Academy. We would go to different screenings and interact with different actors there, just getting to know people and allowing them to get to know us. And then Meredith Thomas created an amazing opportunity for what we call the underdogs to come together and showcase scenes from different um, from the categories that we were being submitted for or considered for. She did like our own little kind of screening where I got to showcase my scene from The Handmaid's Tale, and my husband Melvin got to showcase some episodes from his web series, and other actors got to showcase their thing. So that was really helpful Um, and I know it's not, you know, um, maybe not politically correct, but I honestly feel like God had a hand in me being where I am right now because I didn't campaign, like a politician who's like, yes, I'm really going to win. I feel like I interacted and I worked with my other actors, but and they voted, and I appreciate that. But I don't know that I could take credit for where I am right now.
It's tricky. I wonder about campaigning because, whatever you do person to person, there are thousands of voters.
Right, right. And a friend of mine, Kelsey Scott, who was actually nominated last year, um, she was just encouraging me because I was like, I don't understand how I got here. And she was saying that people voted. They chose to vote for me. And that is incredibly humbling, to know that people could have voted. It was 160 something people, I think, in my category. To know they could have voted for anyone but me is truly humbling to know that they used one of their votes for me.
Now tell me, did you always want to be an actress?
I did. I did. Let my mom tell it coming out the womb. She was like, this girl is going to be an actor. My very first play was Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and I played Charlie. And yeah, I think as I kind of got older, I was like, I don't know if acting is something that I can really do. So I was like, I'll just be a lawyer and I'll do hair on the side, which is crazy as well. But made up my mind after I went to Xavier University in New Orleans for 2 years. I was going to be a forensic psychologist, saw all the science classes I had to take, aced my first science test, and then I was like, I'd much rather play one on TV. And so I left Xavier, went back home to Georgia State, and got my degree in theater there.
Oh, and
Yeah.
just looking through your IMDb, I see that you kind of maybe started in 2006, but then you have a gap between 2007 and 2011, or at least in terms of IMDb credits. Were you still
hmm
acting then?
Yeah, absolutely. I was doing theater in between there. So in 2009, I did Eclipsed that was written by Denai Gurita, the West Coast premiere of that, and then did a couple of musicals, did The Women of Brewster Place, The Color Purple, the musical with Celebration Theater. So yeah, it was a lot of theater in there, and then also did some what's the word? Original work with writer director Patricia Cuffy Jones as well.
And what do you have coming up next?
I will be headed to Oakland to start shooting a feature film for 5 weeks. Then just auditioning, writing a couple of things that I am excited about, and just enjoying this journey that I'm on.
Are there any plans for you to return to the Handmaid sale?
I have not heard anything yet. I would love to return, of course, to kind of see what role Annie is playing or has played um, in June's life since then, or Luke. So we'll see. We'll see.
Maybe you'll be a handmaid yourself.
Maybe, or maybe a Martha, or maybe I will be a commander's wife. Who knows?
And I also wanted to ask, are there any plans for you to be on This Is Us? Which I asked because you have been on a couple of Dan Fogelman shows.
I would love to be on This Is Us. I respect Dan. He is one of the sweetest guys that I have ever worked with. I still remember him in the audition for Grandfathered that I did, and he's just amazing. So if it's left up to me, absolutely there are plans for me to join This Is Us, but it is not left up to me. But I would absolutely love to be a part of that show because it is amazing.
Okay, well, thanks very much for chatting, Kelly, and congratulations on your Emmy nomination.
Thank you so much.